Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about the Racerstar Tattoo 35 amp ESCs. These are the new BL Heli 32 ESCs, and Racerstar has come out with this whole tattoo series. They have these individual ESCs and they have a bunch of 4-in-1 ESCs. Getting this to work with your motors out of the box it's kind of, well, it can be kind of tricky if you want to configure them, especially if you want to change any of the settings. If you just want to change the motor directions, that's also another issue. If you don't want to get into the configurator and change any settings, and you just want to change the motor directions by swapping wires, then you can totally use these ESCs. They seem to work fine out of the box. I didn't change any of the settings, even though well, actually that's a lie. I did change the settings so that I could change the motor direction, but I didn't change any other settings in terms of like the timing or any of the like settings that normally are in BL Heli, because I didn't know what those changes would do, so I left them alone. The only thing I changed was the motor direction, because I didn't want to desolder these to change the motor direction. Now, Banggood's come up with a whole series of these, 4-in-1 ESCs, individual ESCs, and if you need to get in there and change your settings, it's kind of a pain. It took me a little while to figure out and explain the reason why. It's now towards the end of July 2017, and in order for you to use the BL Heli 32 configurator, your flight controller needs to be running Betaflight 3.2. If you're running Betaflight, any version of Betaflight 3.1, the configurator doesn't work. You try to connect and you get a serial port error because it just rejects the connection, and you can't change any of the settings. I didn't want to fly in Betaflight 3.2 because you just don't know what's going to happen, and I recommend that you don't, because it's still, they don't even have a release candidate yet. So there's a lot of these new features, and there could be bugs in there. You could just be asking for a lot of trouble. I recommend not doing that. However, if you want to change the settings, you need to flash your flight controller with BL Heli 32. I'm sorry, with Betaflight 3.2. And I'll put a link to where you can download that for your flight controller and do the install. It's not exactly straightforward. I'll put a card up here to Joshua Bardwell's video. He just recently came out with a little bit of a talk about that and a guide on how to download it and install it. And because you need you need to flash that. Now, you don't need the Betaflight newer Betaflight configurator for Chrome, because to change the settings on these ESCs, because you only need that to change the settings on the flight controller. But I'm not going to be actually doing that for, well, I didn't actually do it for my setup. What I did was I flashed the flight controller to Betaflight 3.2. I then connected to the ESC through BL Heli, through the pass-through feature, and then ran the configurator, got in there and changed the motor directions for, I think it was motors 1 and 3, no, motors 1 and 4, to reverse those directions, and that's it. That's all I did. And then I went back to Betaflight 3.1.7 on the flight controller, so I didn't have to actually update my Betaflight configurator. I just went back to Betaflight 3.1.7 after I changed the motor directions. Now, if I needed to go back into these ESCs and change something, I would have to flash my flight controller again with Betaflight 3.2. So it's kind of a hassle if you need to constantly go in here and adjust your settings, if like the motor timing's off, or you just need to do something different. You have to be on Betaflight 3.2. So you know, I don't see much of an advantage on these. Obviously I didn't get to fly this very much, because if you saw my other video on this frame, I flew it for maybe 5 minutes and ended up crashing it. That's a whole other story. You can watch that video, card in the corner here, if you want to see that. They feel pretty much like a BL Heli S ESC. Obviously I think that you're only gonna be able to tell the difference if you're running probably the newer Betaflight, the newer Betaflight 3.2 and running a higher DSHOT. I was only running DSHOT 600, so obviously the newer BL Heli 32 ESCs would go up to DSHOT 1200 or more. And so then I think that you can do 32 kilohertz on your flight controller, etc., etc. I didn't really do all that, so I didn't have it really set up to take advantage of the faster processor that's on the BL Heli 32 ESC. So I think in order to take advantage of some of these newer features and get the better performance, I would just wait until the new Betaflight 3.2 has been out, maybe been out for a little while, and they've gotten rid of the bugs. I'm sure that, you know, on Betaflight 3.2.0 will be out, and there'll probably still be some bugs, and they're going to still be adding features to maybe wait for like 3.2.1 or 3.2.2. And at that point, then you can, you know, have a decently configured flight controller, and then use BLHeli32 configurator to change any of the settings you want, run the faster DSHOT, etc., etc. And I think then you'll start to see where the advantages are of having this faster CPU on this on this ESC. Anyway, so that's just my little talk about these ESCs. I think that there might be some advantages. I don't know yet. I don't think I will know until I get to the point where I'm confident in flying the newer Betaflight 3.2, and that's not going to be for a little while. So I'll probably revisit this ESC a little bit later. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.